Hello and welcome to Nerdarchy. For nerds, by nerds. I'm Nerd Steve, and tonight I'm joined by this nerd.
Nerdarchy Ted, how you doing this fine and lovely evening, sir?
I am doing. I went to this con, and the only stupid thing I got was COVID. Not entirely true. I did get some other things. But that being said, it was a good time. Just, I think I got COVID anyway. I didn't actually test, but a bunch of people I was hanging out with had COVID, so I'm going to go, probably COVID.
Well, I am very glad that I have managed to, even though I went to the con and hung out with people, and even though like several days thereafter, I spent a little bit of time around you, I managed to, get off scot-free from any kind of con crud or
Mhm.
COVID or COVID like situation. So yay
Yeah.
me.
Yeah. Matter of fact, but I mean, I would say my like actually feeling anything didn't really kick in until like Tuesday,
Sure.
and we were supposed to stream our Zoo Mafia game. I'm like, my throat feels like it's got razor blades on it, and talking for a couple hours on stream does not appeal to me right now.
Sure, sure. So that's why we weren't here last Tuesday.
We'll be back
But
tomorrow.
barring any other unforeseen situations, we'll be back to playing again tomorrow night, get some Zoo Mafia on. I left things on a little bit of a cliffhanger, so I'm looking forward to seeing how those moments respond.
Yeah, I feel like there's like a double cliffhanger. But anyway, we're going to be talking about Sorcerer from the 2024 Player's Handbook tonight. Before we do get to that, I will mention there is a actual play up on the channel for a Zoo Mafia game that Ted ran for another group. Hit points not required. Part one went up on the channel last week, and I guess this week the part two is supposed to go up on their channel.
Indeed. I have not heard from them to say that it's gone up, but I also uh, didn't check to see it because it should have gone up today. Um, but I spent all day at work and then I've been, running around trying to, get stuff done with all the different things that I do. It's the holiday times and I've got, stuff that I do for Nerdarchy plus the family craziness.
Yeah, but it does not appear to be up there anyway. So,
All
uh,
right. Well, I will reach out to my contact and be like, hey, let me know when yours goes up.
poke, poke, poke. Yeah, and then we'll like put it on a playlist or something. But anyway, so we are talking about the Sorcerer. I feel like the Sorcerer overall got some upgrades. I just recently told my players if they wanted to move to the 2024 character classes in our game, they can if they want. They can supposed to stay with the old stuff if they want. Completely up to them. And you're playing a sorcerer, and from what I've looked at, to me it seems like uh,
It's all better.
well, it's not that it's all better, but I think you got more to gain than lose by taking on this version.
I would agree with that.
Like there's definitely some of the dead, so some of the dead levels kind of get removed. So
I mean, for the most part, with the previous spellcasters, um, there's not a whole lot that goes into the higher level things. It's just like, oh, well, you get
higher
access
level
to
spells, yeah,
higher level spells, and that's your thing. With the sorcerer, it's like, okay, well, you also have these metamagic things, so you get the occasional new metamagic stuffs. But like right off the bat, the innate sorcery, I'm like, oh, do tell.
yeah, yeah. So let's jump into it. So starting off with spellcasting. It's the same except for you get more prepared spells. You max out at 22 instead of 15. And then when you factor in not all of the subclasses, but quite a few of them get extra spells. Um, that's pretty nice. That's huge. Like that was a bone of contention for the Nerdarchy, formerly known as Ryan, where like literally the bard got more
I'm
prepared
a Sonata
spells
versus
than the
Toyota
sorcerer.
Camry. Look what Sonata has.
I don't know where that. Where's that noise? Where it's coming from? You got something playing over there, Ted? Anyway,
I don't
so
I don't know where that came from. I don't like I'm on D&D Beyond, so I don't know what
mystery tab.
would have well, I don't know what ad would have played. So whatever. I apologize.
Yeah.
Um,
So yeah, so they beefed up their maxed out spell list by 7, so that's kind of nice.
yeah, that is a huge amount. And then, like I said, well, like you said, like once you combine or once you add in that, 3 of the 4 subclasses have additional spells that are automatically prepared for you and don't count against your spells known, like that's a whole lot of extra, oomph.
And you had already mentioned innate sorcery, which you get at first level. This kind of replaces your sorcerer's origin, which you now have to wait till 3rd level to get.
Yep.
But this is a nice little consolation prize. An event in your past left an indelible mark upon you, infusing you with simmering magic. As a bonus action, you can unleash the magic for 1 minute, during which you gain the following benefits: spell save DC for your sorcery spells, it increases by 1, and you have advantage on attack rolls for your sorcerer spells you cast. You can use this feature twice. You gain all expended uses when you finish a long rest.
So I thought this was out of the world bonkers. Like technically, no spell you're going to cast is going to benefit from both things, but regardless of which direction you're going, you have a better chance of success of whatever it is that you're trying to cast. And for our style of play, I see no problem with this. For let me go the other way around. For the average style of play,
Yeah.
I don't see a problem with this. For our style of play, this is broken. Like, all right, every combat, all your attack rolls advantage. That is like, holy shit. That is crazy. Crazy, crazy good.
Yeah, I mean, although there was a period, I made you guys do like 4 or 5 sessions of dungeon crawling, where you'd have been for a little shock, right, to the system using this ability. But
sure, but it was still like 3 combats
yeah,
a day and we rested. So like in those moments, it's still 2 out of 3. I would have gotten the bump from innate sorcery. And like later on, like there's extra love for innate sorcery. So yeah.
so found a magic at 2nd level. So it is basically the same with one exception. Did you catch the exception?
Um the converting to spell slots, converting from points to spell slots, I think costs more now.
Yeah, for 4th and 5th level spells. Up until that point, it's the same. So they decide, it's a little too cheap. You get Metamagic at 2nd. Like, oh, this is kind of the same. The only difference is now there's 2 more options that weren't included in the player's handbook, but I wouldn't call them new options. They just appeared in later books and they just included them. So,
Right.
Subclass at 3rd level, which used to be 1st level. This used to be a dead level for the sorcerer because you would just get higher spell casting. But we also get Sorcerer's Restoration, which is an old name. Actually used to be the capstone ability for the sorcerer, but it's a new feature, and we should probably go over it.
Yeah, when you finish a short rest, you regain expended sorcery points, but no more than a number equal to half your sorcerer level rounded down. Once you use this feature, you can't do so again until you finish a long rest. So like at 5th level, okay, well, you're going to get 2 points back, which, 2 points is nothing to sneeze at. That's still an additional free 1st level, spell that you could be able to cast, increasing, your spell casting pool. Or if you're going to use your Metamagic points, that's 1 or 2 uses of your Metamagic abilities.
Well, here's the thing, too, right? This ability used to get as your capstone ability, your 20th level ability. And I believe what it was is when you rolled initiative and you had no sorcery points, you got 4.
Yes.
So instead of getting 4, you can get 10.
Yes.
That's vastly improved. It's vastly improvement, and you don't have to be tapped out the door in order to do it. You can just fill up your sorcery points. Again, you can't have more than your maximum, so you have to kind of like gauge, or you're going to waste points. But vastly better. Also,
And you get it at 5th, not 20th.
yes, At fifth level, you're halfway to what you would have gotten at 20th level previously. So I would say that's better. We also get a new ability, a new feature at 7th level called Sorcery Incarnate.
So if you have no uses of innate sorcery left, you can use it if you spend 2 sorcery points when you take the bonus action to activate it. In addition, while your innate sorcery feature is active, you can use up to 2 metamagic options on each spell you cast. So, like I said, it gets some extra love. And if you really think your innate sorcery is awesome and you'd rather use your sorcery points on that instead of your metamagics, you totally can.
Yeah, but it's not just that. You get to go Nova during that time, casting multiple metamagics at the same time. Yep. Which at 20th level, pretty cool because Arcane Apotheosis, it replaces what we used to get.
Yeah, so you still get your 19th level epic boon, but 20th level, while your innate sorcery feature is active, you can use one metamagic option on each of your turns without spending sorcery points on it.
So obviously you have to hit 20th level to do this, but once you hit 20th level, actually, if you were to use the sorcery points to activate that ability, it's still a discount from there then on out when you use your metamagics.
Yep. All right. I spend my thing and I will quicken every round for the next 10 rounds.
It's like after you use it the first time, you've gotten your money back.
Yes.
So that's pretty
Believe
sweet.
me, I was reading this all on break today, and I had read through it before, but I was like getting it back in my head and I'm like, yep, this is amazing. And the fact, as you pointed out, that I am playing a sorcerer and that you are allowing us to switch over to this rule set and you plan on taking us to past 20th level, I'm like, yeah, this is gonna be fun.
Yeah, it also is giving me ideas of what I can do as far as how to enhance the features and abilities beyond 20th as well. Because I definitely want to do that. I'm probably going to also bump out the spell casting spell level slots beyond 9th. But that's neither here nor there. We can probably just do a whole chat on
that. That's
once we get into it
for sure. All right, so do we need to go over the actual metamagic options? Because I don't remember seeing anything that's different.
I don't think so. I think they're all pretty much what they used to be. Looking, it looks like the costs are the same. The only difference is we get, what do we get? We get transmute spell and seeking spell, which they appeared in other books, so they're not really new. Wait a minute.
So I think the wording on distant spell, was that one slightly changed to just make it more clear? Or am I just crazy?
It looks the same to me. The wording might be different. Let me see.
No, it was twin. Twin has changed.
Twin is cheaper, right? Didn't it used to be point per level?
Yeah, but the way it works now is it only works on spells that if you cast a spell that by casting it at a higher level spell would allow you to target an extra person, then you can twin it.
Ooh, that's greatly nerfed.
Yeah, that one has definitely been changed, and I imagine there's probably going to be a lot of people who are like, well, I don't think I'm going to do that.
Yeah, that's why it's so much cheaper, because it sucks compared to what it used to be. Yeah, we'll probably leave it the same. I don't think I'll get any complaints from the sorcerer in the party.
Well, I mean, there's so many great spells that
the twin.
There's so many great spells that were viable for twin before.
Yep.
It just had to be something that affected one person, and now it's like, okay, and one of the things that I enjoyed hasting or enjoyed twinning was hasting the barbarians in the party. You know, nice to give them extra attack rolls, but
Yeah.
under the current rule set, that's a no bueno. I just looked up haste, and there's definitely no about, oh, well, if you increase the level, you get to do it for more.
They're not feeling us on that one, huh?
Yeah. They saw lots of people taking that in directions that they had not intended, I guess.
Well, that's kind of always gonna be the case when it comes to abilities, because like there's so many different combinations you're going to do. They can't. There's no way they're going to think of them all.
Yep.
But like, I mean, sometimes that's where the fun is, finding those like those spots where um where they miss that, and it's like, exploiting those weaknesses. I feel like that's a whole thing.
Yeah, and I don't have a problem with it because whatever the players do, so can the DM. Like, you know, and the DM gets to break other rules too. So it's like I don't really feel that there's, that big a deal for the things that, have happened.
Yeah, plus, I want you to keep doing that because one of these times I'm going to break your concentration
I
and
mean,
take your two of your heavies out of the fight for a round.
to be fair, I haven't honestly done that in a number of sessions, but it's definitely been fun to kind of play around with when I did do it.
All right, so what are we looking at? The Aberrant Sorcery. This is almost exactly the same as it appeared in Tasha's. There's like literally one change. What was the change? Psychic defense, and the only difference is basically psychic defense is at 6th level, you get advantage against being charmed and frightened, and the new version calls out that also you get that advantage to end those effects, where before it just said against those saves. So
Right. Yes.
it's a minor clarification.
Yep. It's good stuff though. All in all, the
I guess
revelation in flesh is a really great ability.
I guess the other thing to point out is this is our other psychic subclass, which has also been included. So it appears they've included all the psychic subclasses. I think there's only the 3.
I think so.
Yeah, I think rogue, fighter, rogue, and sorcerer. It's kind of nice that they like included one for all the subclass, for every class, giving them a subclass. But I guess they didn't want to really really didn't want to make too many new subclasses,
Right.
which would have been required. Clockwork Sorcery is the other one we get. Again, this ability is exactly the same except with one minor change, and that is restore balance at 3rd level. And it used to be dependent on your proficiency bonus for number of uses, and now they've gone back to stats.
To your charisma modifier, and you get them all back after a long rest. But it's still pretty good.
Now, when we get to Draconic Sorcerer, and so this has kind of been the case anyway, like the newer subclasses that they've made, there's very little changes they made with them. They're pretty much just regurgitating them. It's when we get back to the original Player Handbook 2014 subclasses that we start seeing things kind of get changed. And Draconic Sorcery is a great example of that.
Yep, because you're right off the bat, your draconic resilience, it changes from 1 hit point per level to increases by 3, and 1 whenever you gain another sorcerer level. So
it's basically just compensating for the fact you're getting it 3rd level instead of 1st. But yes, that the wording is different.
And your armor class, instead of being 13 plus dex, it's your charisma and dex plus 10. So it has the option of being better than what it was previously.
Yeah, before you were going to max out at 18. Now, if you really want to focus on charisma and dex, you could max out at 20. Also, there's ways, to go beyond 20, so you could go even higher if you want to still focus on those stats. So that's kind of cool. The other thing is Draconic spells, which wasn't a thing.
Yeah, so now you get, Alter Self, Chromatic Orb, Command, Dragon's Breath, Fear, Fly, Arcane Eye, Charm Monster, Legend Lore, and Summon Dragon. Level dependent, of course, added to your prepared spells per day, which is automatically awesome. They count as sorcerer spells, and yeah.
But what you lost was your dragon ancestor, which basically gave you Draconic as a language, and when you made charisma checks interact with dragons, you basically had expertise. Your proficiency bonus is doubled if it applies to this check. So that's no longer a thing. Dragons don't like you the way they used to, but instead you get more spells. I think the more spells to cast will probably come in more useful.
I think so as well. It really depends upon how dragon themed your game happens to be, but I think most games, the extra spell options is going to definitely be better.
Um, so at 6th level, you get elemental affinity. Still, it's slightly different.
So your draconic magic has an affinity with a damage type associated with dragons. Choose one of those types: acid, cold, fire, lightning, or poison. You have resistance to that damage type, and when you cast a spell that deals damage of that type, you can add your charisma modifier to one damage roll of that spell.
Which it was basically the same, but it was based on whatever you picked. But you had to spend a sorcery point to gain resistance to the damage type for 1 hour. Now you just have it. So it's been
That is,
upgraded.
that is nice.
And now we're gonna get to Dragon Wings at 14th level. This got nerfed hard.
So, as a bonus action, you can cause draconic wings to appear on your back. The wings last for an hour or until you dismiss them. No action required. For the duration, you have a fly speed of 60. Once you use this feature, you can't use it again until you finish a long rest, unless you spend 3 sorcery points, no action required, to restore your use of it.
Used to be at 14th level, you gain the ability to sprout a pair of dragon wings from your back, gaining a fly speed equal to your current speed. If you create these wings as a bonus action on your turn, they last until you dismiss them as a bonus action on your turn. Can't manifest your wings while wearing armor unless the armor is made to accommodate them, and clothing not made to accommodate your wings might be destroyed when you manifest them. Did you hear the difference?
So, now you're allowed to wear armor.
No, 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 no. There's no duration. You just summon the wings.
Oh,
There's no
shit.
usage either. So you could just have dragon wings whenever you want it.
Wow.
I
Now
mean,
they
you
last
you
an
would
hour.
go through a lot of like pairs of clothing probably, unless you had them specially made. But
So, yeah, major nerf.
yeah, majorly nerfed. I don't know how much people will care. And then finally, Dragon Companion is the 18th level, but it used to be Dragon Presence. Man, I'm not sure how I feel about this one.
All right, so you cast Summon Dragon without a material component. You can also cast it once without a spell slot, and you regain the ability to cast it this way when you finish a long rest. Whenever you start casting the spell, you can modify it so that it doesn't require concentration. If you do so, the spell's duration becomes 1 minute for that casting.
All right. So, I mean, it's strong to be able to cast a spell and not have to worry about concentration. You're getting a free use of a 5th level spell, but this is also an 18th level ability. At this point, I think you're casting 9th level spells. Um, Now your capstone ability used to be Draconic Presence. You can channel the dread presence of a dragon ancestor, causing those around you to become awestruck or frightened. As an action, you can spend 5 sorcery points to draw on this power and exude an aura of awe or fear, your choice, to a distance of 60 feet for 1 minute or until you lose your concentration, as if you were concentrating on a spell. Each hostile creature that starts its turn in this aura must succeed on a wisdom saving throw, or be charmed if you choose all, or frightened if you choose fear till the aura ends. A creature that succeeds the saving throw is immune to the aura for 24 hours. So, I mean, it's kind of expensive because it's, it is 5 sorcery points, but that is actually cheaper than a 5th level spell. Because I think it would cost you 9 sorcery points to cast a spell. And it just lasts for a minute, and you're just affecting everything within 60 feet of you. Whether you want them to be afraid or you want them to be charmed by you. And the thing about the summon dragon spell, the dragon you summon has like 50 hit points. So you're 18th level. Like, okay, it's gonna come in, and it doesn't do that much damage, right? It gets unless you increase the spell and cast it at a higher level, but you don't actually have that option using the ability. I think its claw attacks like do a D6 plus 9, and the breath weapon does like 2d10 or something. It's not much. And
2d6.
Oh, 2d6. So I feel like any threat you're facing at 18th level that you pull this thing out on, like, they can eliminate this thing in one round, probably.
So it's 10 hit points per spell level.
Yes,
because it's 50 plus 10 for each spell level above 5. So at most you're giving this thing 90 hit points.
But you can't do that using that ability.
Sure.
So,
so
like I said, it's kind of cool, but I don't know if I'd rather just have the dragon presence ability, which is like a unique ability and could be super useful on a battlefield that has a lot of opponents on it. Where the one thing, I don't know, I feel like that ability is going to be around for a round. The only plus side is really like you're just using the ability. That's your sunken cost.
So it's probably around for a round or two.
Yeah.
But I think creative players might find a way to have a little bit of fun with it if you cast the spell normally, but that has nothing to do with the ability.
Right.
So I don't know.
That being said, like, you summon the creature, it's a large dragon, and I feel like out of combat, I think there might be more uses for it than in combat, because you can make it last for an hour. It's got a fly speed, but also at 18th level, you have so many options. Like, this one doesn't feel like a super strong one. So,
I see it. I agree.
Now, Wild Magic. Wild Magic is a whole nother story. We got a lot going on here.
All right. So I glanced through the surge table.
Yeah.
Did you compare them to see?
I did. They're completely different for the most part, and the new surge table is way more forgiving.
I was going to point out that it definitely feels like there's less craziness.
I'm disappointed that I'm like some of the stuff is still in there, but one of the things that's not in there is you can't TPK the party with a fireball.
Yeah, I was actually just looking to I just basically did a control the fireball and it wasn't there, and I'm like, what the hell?
You do get the fireball, but you actually get to cast it as an extra spell. It's not centered on you. So, what fun is that? I mean, one of the most memorable games in our first campaign for 5e was the Sorcerer nearly killing the party with a fireball and burning down one of their favorite taverns.
Yeah, that was a grand and glorious time.
All right, so Wild Magic Surge is your third level, is mostly the same with a couple changes, right? So now the player decides to roll to see if a surge happens anytime they cast a first level or higher spell. If they roll 20, they surge, and that goes along with the fact that the table is much more favorable towards them now. than it was before. So you're more likely to get an effect that isn't really going to affect you much at all or be a benefit. Before, the DM would decide, the player would roll, and if they rolled a 1, then the surge would happen. But other than that, it's basically the same. I would say the biggest difference is in my games. If you played a Wild Magic Sorcerer, every time you cast a spell, I had you roll. So I figure you're a Wild Magic. You want Wild Magic shit to happen.
Yeah.
All right. Tides of Chaos. And it's the same. And my notes say now they have the Dave rule in effect. So when you play a Wild Sorcerer Mage in my game, the rule is if you use Tides of Chaos, the very next time you cast a spell of level 1 or higher, you just roll to find out if you have a surge or not. Or no, it's you actually roll the surge, right?
Right.
It's just it just automatically happens. What is it? So my thoughts were that that's like one of your core abilities. So I want you to be able to use it as much as you can.
And I completely agree. I haven't had a player play a Wild Magic Sorcerer in any of my games, so
Yeah.
I haven't had this. But I imagine, if somebody were to play that subclass in my games, I would use your rule. Just because it makes it easier. It's like, all right, you're gonna surge. It's gonna happen.
Yeah. Yeah. One is to take away the bookkeeping of me, the DM, going, all right, when's the most opportune moment for me to make this happen? So I preferred not to have the bookkeeping. And two, I genuinely, as the DM, want them to be able to use that ability whenever they want.
Right. And that's the cost of it is, until you roll on the table, your Tides of Chaos doesn't resurge or, refresh.
Yeah.
So
Ben Luck, it's 6th level. It
totally
basically
nerfed.
what? That's
It's
not
been
nerfed.
nerfed.
No, it's improved.
Oh,
Well,
I thought it used to be like a reroll, and now it's like,
no,
a
it's
D.
always been a D4, and you can cause as a reaction, you cause someone to either get a D4 to the roll or minus a D4 to the roll. And the reason why I say it got better is because it used to cost 2 points. As a matter of fact, in my own games, I only made them spend 1 to spell.
So man, it seems like Watts is paying attention to you on this one.
Man, I think they just like got some common sense and been like, oh, this doesn't make sense. Controlled Chaos is our 14th level ability, and that's basically when you roll on the Wild Magic table, you roll twice and pick what you want. So that's the same. That's not it. Tamed Surge? Is that right?
Yep, Tame Surge. Immediately after you cast a sorcerer spell with a spell slot, you can create an effect of your choice from the Wild Magic Surge table instead of rolling on that table. You can choose any effect in the table except for the final row, and if the chosen effect involves a roll, you must make it. Once you use this feature, you can't do so again until you finish a long rest.
So I don't know. I like the old one better. They used to get spell bombardment. At 18th level, the harmful energy of your spells intensifies when you roll damage for a spell and roll the highest number possible on any of the dice. Choose one of those dice, roll it again, and add that roll to the damage. You can use this feature only once per turn. So basically every round, your dice can explode.
I like exploding dice.
Well, although maybe it's only once. So I do like exploding dice. I thought it was actually for all the dice, but I think it's only once. So never mind. The new one is a lot better. You just wild surge all the time. Or no, it's not that you wild surge all the time. You just pick a wild magic effect.
Right, but you can only do it one. Like you can basically pick whatever you want off of that chart once a day.
Is it only once a day?
Yeah.
All right, that's not as much fun. If you can do it every time, then it gets crazy because you'd be like, all right, I'm going for that fireball every time, or whatever you want to do. Or I'm just going to regenerate all the time. So that's the Wild Magic. So Wild Magic and Draconic Sorcerer were our two originals, and I feel like they both got a nice facelift and have improved.
I definitely think that there's, good changes in there, but as you pointed out, there's definitely some things that are, you know, not as good as the original. So
Yeah, but I think like the overall, when you add in like the base class improvements and even like I guess like the 18th level ability for the Wild Magic Sorcerer, one is like if only one of the dice explode, it's not really that big a deal. The only good thing about it is you could do is for as many times as you cast spells where you roll damage dice, it's an effect. Where the other thing is like once per long rest. If it was once per long rest and then you could spend sorcery points to do it more, that would be kind of cool. But
well, my opinions. I always enjoy the abilities that you can refresh using your class specific abilities.
yeah, I like we like when players get to spend resources, right? Like whether then they have a choice, right? Do they conserve them or do they expend them? And a lot of times in our games, because we don't do a lot of encounters, they can just go Nova and they don't worry about conserving. But occasionally that will bite our players in the ass because when we do hit them with a second, third, or fourth encounter, like they are not prepared. And I feel like as DMs, we don't care. Like that's not our problem.
Sure. But I mean, when it comes to like being a spellcaster and what have you, like even if I've gone Nova and I've blown through all of my spells, but it takes a lot of spellcasting in order for me to go through everything as a 14th level spellcaster. I can still come back to cantrip. And my cantrip's nothing to sneeze at. So I'm okay with that. So I'm it's more of the things like even when you've got the fighter who's like, oh well, I've gone through all of my superiority dice. Okay, well, you still get 3 attacks around. It's okay.
Yeah.
Even if you can't do the extra fun stuff, you can still do what your base class is designed to do. And that's what everybody really has. That your monk runs out of key points. So what? You can still go punch.
I'm just saying, in our games, it just for the DM, it makes things a little extra interesting because when the play style changes up and our players have kind of gotten used. But yeah. So hey, are we gonna be someplace next month?
I do believe we are. So we are going to be going to Page 2, the Philadelphia Area Gaming Expo. It's going to be in Oaks, PA. So if you happen to either be interested in traveling to such a place or within close proximity and you want to come hang out with us, definitely come check that out. I found out that one of my pseudo local gaming buddies is actually going to be there. So gonna, definitely plan some fun hangouts that way.
You have a fake gaming buddy?
No, Dr. Kurt's gonna be there.
Oh, okay. Well, you said pseudo.
Well,
You mean pseudo local?
Pseudo local.
Yeah, not pseudo buddy.
No. No, my pseudo local gaming buddy. He's not like right next door. So
Dr. Kurt is good peoples. Love gaming with Dr.
Indeed.
Pseudo or otherwise. Yeah, so we're gonna be there. Also, just the guest list is freaking amazing. Like they're gonna have tons of people. It seems like it's gonna be a really fun event. If you follow their Facebook group, you can see like they put out the layout to the vendor room the other day.
Yeah, there's the vendor layout is there. There's tons and tons of special guests that have been listed, and it seems like every time I turn around, it's like, oh, we're announcing this person now too, and we're announcing this. I'm like, dear Lord.
Yeah,
like
while we were at PAX Unplugged, our buddy Kelsey Dion, creator of Shadow Dark, and also the maker of the Arcane Library was announced. So it'd be cool. You can get into a game of Shadow Dark run by Calcidio, and that'd be awesome. Also, we're Ted's running a Zoo Mafia game and a D&D game. I'm running a couple of D&D games. I'm going to pick up my Zoo Mafia games. So, yeah, if you happen to be local to the Philadelphia area, it's going to be a good time. You should come check it out.
Yeah, I can't wait. It's gonna be, a whole new experience because I've never been to page two. So heard lots of good things.
Well, it's only the second one, so.
Well, yeah, I didn't go last year then, okay.
Yeah, you'll be able to go to all of them, but the first one now. So yeah, so we're excited for that. You guys can come hang out with us there. Like I said, we were just at PAX. We actually did a stream last week talking about the things we saw and did at PAX Unplugged. Although I didn't get to show off that I had brought home COVID last stream, so since that didn't kick in until the next day. But other than that, it was a great time. It always is.
Indeed. I always enjoy PAX. It's another close convention.
So I feel like of the sorcerers, I kind of really want to use a Clockwork Sorcerer as a villain.
That's interesting, given all of their balancing maneuvers.
Yeah, well, they have that going on. But I think so. The ability I think that really kind of intrigues me is their one where they can just shut down advantage and disadvantage.
Bastion of Law?
Yeah.
No. No, that's
No.
restore balance.
Yeah, yeah, it's their earlier ability, yeah.
You can just be like, no, no, you don't have that.
Especially for like when you because you love to do the whole um silvery barbs, is that it? Yeah, silvery barbs.
Yeah, yeah.
Be like, no, fold that. And I don't even think it's a use ability. Oh yeah, it's your reaction.
It is charisma.
I would definitely have to make make an NPC that has more uses of more reactions.
Sure, sure. Um, you know, if you really wanted to go whole hog with this, like, you could actually have a series of like Modron Clockwork Sorcerers.
Yeah.
So like you've got multiple uses of these abilities because they're all working together as a cohesive unit.
Yeah, actually that would be kind of cool to do that.
And with what do you call it? With one of the more recent WizKid releases, like they released a lot of different Clockwork minis.
Yeah.
And I was like, all right, I'm gonna go crazy. And I bought like lots of 3 of the different types that were there. So like I've got a decent supply of Modrons now. I know if you're going to do a Modron invasion, you want like 15 to 20 of everything, and
Yeah.
I don't have, but I've got
You
3 to
can't quite
5.
do the march.
I can't do the march, but I mean, the size of the typical box that I use for storing minis. But like I've got one of those boxes specifically set to Modrons because I now have that many different options.
Yeah, during my D&D in the castle game, one of the characters, Wild Mage, actually accidentally summoned the Modron, and it was like super annoyed. So it like because it was annoyed at being interrupted for what it was doing. That didn't really attack them per se. It just did things to annoy them, and they're also in the middle of a big battle. Yeah, yeah. So like it hindered them, but it wasn't really attacking them per se until they attacked it.
That's funny.
Yeah, it was just so annoying.
Dude, do you realize that I was cataloging stuff?
Yeah. Although I am thinking too, like for using Sorcerer Origins for for a villain, like the Draconic Sorcerer would be awesome. But if you were to do give it a mythic ability, right? When you actually defeat the sorcerer, it then then becomes a dragon. That's the mythic.
Yeah, that'd be pretty sweet.
Yeah. Folds, summoning, the dragon spell too. Maybe just replace it with summoning a weaker dragon.
Yeah, I mean, when you decide to go with like a villainous,
Yeah.
option, like you're not using a character class. You're thematicking the abilities
Yeah.
into a stat block, so you get to change things. I do that stuff all the time.
Yep. And so also for the idea of using multiple reactions, there's actually several monsters that do that. I believe the Hydra gets that ability, but also they're what are they called? Death Wolves or Dread Wolves? Whatever I used against you guys, they
I want to
they
say Dread Wolves.
yeah they have they have this ability where they get to use two different two reactions around. So there's
Yeah.
precedent. And it's funny because like when I threw those monsters out there, you guys were kind of like, you just made this up to screw us. I'm like, no, Wizards of the Coast made this up to screw you. I just am using it.
Well,
Yeah.
I got no problems whether a DM is homebrewing something or whether they're using something right out of D&D Beyond. It's all a game. It's all there to have fun and to challenge the players and tell a nice collaborative story.
What about you? Is there any of the particular sorcerer origins you want to use as a villainous option?
So I mean, I really dig the psionic stuff.
Yeah,
I haven't dove deeply into psionics in 5e. Um, but
there's not
when
really
you
much to dive into.
right, but what I mean, like even from a DM's point of view, I have not explored psionics
Mhm.
in my villains or in my stories. I mean, the closest thing I had was like the Lich that had a connection to a Cthulhian being. And there was some psionic nonsense there, but I mean, it wasn't heavily explored. But when you look at, some of the cool like revelation and flesh abilities, that's some cool stuff. Being able to, uh, you know, like I would touch on this, and if I were to go into, um, a psionic sorcerer, like I would go back to, the old psionic spells that don't exist in the current edition, and just be like, all right, this dude's got access to some of these things, and make them more fit the mechanics of 5e.
Mhm.
Um, but bring back some of those, cool abilities that haven't been changed over. Or heck, maybe not use the mechanics from the current edition and just be like, nope, this is how it works for him
No,
because he's got abilities that you don't,
kinetic absorption. Looking at you. The
That's a
whole
scary one.
the whole party unloads on the monster, and then it just touches one of the barbarian, and he explodes.
Yeah, that was a power that was absolutely abused as a player back in the day.
Yeah. I think the aberrant mind would be fun, especially if we were to bolt that on an aberration.
Yeah.
A mind flayer or maybe a beholder. And also if you're like, especially if you go with psionics are different than magic, that like its psionic powers actually function in its anti magic eye.
Yep.
That would really piss off some players.
Yeah, I would agree.
Maybe replace its eye stalks spells with psionic powers instead.
I mean, I love mucking around with beholders. Um, I've done several blog posts talking about different ways to do beholders and what have you. And I mean, heck, I even made a Christmas beholder. Not only did I paint it up, but
Uh,
I made a whole thing. Well, I actually brought it back, and this past week I did a let's revisit Santa Claus my Christmas beholder,
Uh-huh.
and I actually did a proper stat block. I linked to the blog post where you could see his minions, because he had a spectator and two gazers that just because again WizKids had done unpainted beholders, spectators, and gazers that you could get.
Uh-huh.
And I did a whole thematic paint job for them. So I even pulled out like terrain pieces and I made a whole setup for Santa Claus's lair, and put that in as a picture for the blog posts. So if you're looking for a holiday beholder encounter, or ideas of how to use him, go ahead and check out the website. I did some fun stuff over there.
Nice. You never have too many holiday beholders in your.
Nope.
What are the eye rays for your holiday beholder?
Oh geez. I mean that was like last week. How do I
God, I thought you were gonna see something crazy. Like I did that last season. Just copy and pasted
I
it
mean,
over.
so he's got a peppermint beam, a mistletoe blast, a fruitcake bomb, and a jelly bean of sleep. So it's basically like a frost ray, a charm ray, a petrification ray, and a sleep ray. So
Plus,
lots of
also it's just fun to throw out a familiar monster to the
fun.
players, and they kind of, oh no, look out for disintegrate. Nope, mistletoe. Although I feel like you should have did fun things like, I don't know, if you get hit by the mistletoe, you spend around trying. You're charmed, and you spend around trying to kiss a random
Well, I mean,
creature.
like I think those kind of things can be fun, and like as inspiration trying to run the encounter, like that could be something that I would just do. And since the beholder's got lots of eye rays, these are just some options.
Yep.
Throw whatever strikes your fancy. But I put this out there with like some adventure hooks of like what to do if you wanted to use this guy as kind of a neutral to good
Hmm.
backdrop for the game, or whether like no, this dude's your villain, and here's what to do. Um, so like I try to give different options of how to use something as ridiculous as a Christmas beholder for a variety of levels.
Nice. So do you have any plans for any of your games to use your Christmas beholder?
I mean, it'll eventually come up at some point in time. You know, sitting there taking the time to actually draft up my little you know, Christmas beholder lair. I definitely wanted to.
Uh,
And I had run a I had I had run a game just the other night for some new players. And as I was getting ready to like set the gaming table for new people, I honestly debated scrapping everything that I had spent, weeks
mhm.
or months planning to be like, nope, let's do this instead, just because I liked it that much. But like, well, it's not gonna happen. And that's why I like pull it off the side, put all the tiles away, put all the little, terrain pieces away, put my beholders with my other beholders.
Well, I'm not gonna say I've never done that. Sometimes, you get the call, right? And you have to answer.
Sure, sure, sure. But I mean, I've got the material, I've got the idea, and I've got all the stuff. So it's not like it would be that hard for me to be like, nope,
Yeah.
let's do it,
What level was the game you ran?
Third.
Third,
Yeah, I felt, third level was was great because it doesn't have the high possible death because of a poorly rolled crit.
yeah.
Um, but wasn't so astronomically high that new players would be like, "Oh my god, I don't know what to do with all of these options."
Right.
Uh,
Yeah, I feel
But
like most of our games anymore start at least third anyway, just because that's when you have like
third
a
or
fully formed character.
third or fifth is my usual starting point. Um, but I looked at it, and I decided I was going to do a Fey based winter game where the players had a little bit of a mystery to solve. They come upon this winter village, um, and they see this mushroom person and find out that, oh, look, the you know presents are randomly appearing, and it's causing people to turn into these mushrooms. uh but of course, before they can get to the mystery, they start trying to interact with this mushroom person. And as it just kind of you know lifts its meaty arm and points towards the middle of town, the barbarian in the party is like, I want to attack it. And the one player is like, well, generally we don't attack things until the DM says roll initiative. And I'm like, well, this person is a new player to the game, and I don't want to squash their ideas. So it's like, look, generally, what this player says is absolutely accurate, but you have the ultimate choice with your character. You choose whether or not you want to attack something or not, even if I haven't said that. He's like, oh, I'm gonna bring my sword down on this thing. So he comes over.
That's when you said roll initiative.
No, he declared his action. So he went over. He raged on the way. He made an attack roll. He didn't crit, but he did enough damage. It's like, okay, you cut the mushroom person in half, and as it kind of falls to either side, you see like the mangled, like squished remains of some kind of humanoid inside the center of this thing. It's squished down, so like whatever.
I would have did child in a fetal position.
Well, I didn't describe the age of said creature. I had somebody medicine check, and they didn't roll high enough to determine whether it was like elf, human, or dwarf, or the age. So I just left it at it's definitely humanoid.
Yeah.
And let it go at that.
They got
And
valuable information. They know the mushroom people used to be humanoids.
so then they go into town and they see
We
like
call
there are
that
mushroom.
we call that the barbarian investigation.
But they found more mushroom people that are like corralled into like a fenced area, and there's like people having a conversation over near like a central bonfire, and it just becomes this whole big thing. And like it was just fun to just let the players do whatever they wanted to do, and however long it takes for them to solve this mystery. um but there was, as the mushroom guy got cut open and investigated, a couple of players failed a constitution saving throw and got poisoned. And it was a near thing that they could have started their own transformations into uh mushroom people, but some well-placed lesser restorations ended those effects, and we didn't get to see what happened next.
Maybe when you finish that.
Yeah, it's just it was a grand time. So I imagine at some point in time I'll put this is a little adventure outline up on the website as well. If people want to deal with some snowy frivolity.
Sounds like a plan. Well, it is just about that time. 59. So we'll be back here tomorrow night playing Zoo Mafia. As always, you can get the quick start rules over on the website. There's links down in the description so you can check out Zoo Mafia, and also follow the Kickstarter. So when we finally launch it, you guys will be able to get notified. And with that, until next time, stay nerdy.
Stay nerd.